Hello YouTube, this is Chris with the Travisdale-Pickmere Railway. Today in my N-Gauge news, I haven't made much progress, as I guess a lot of people don't, getting sidetracked with life. I was going to be doing a video shortly on putting down my cork underlay onto my tabletop, and I'll do a video hopefully in the next week or so with that. But until then, I just got a few deliveries today, so I wanted to share those with you. Just kind of drum up some interest in what's going to be coming soon. So, short little video, and I'm just going to go over what I've got. Okay, so in the past couple days, I've got a few items that got delivered, and I just want to go over these and share these with you. We'll leave the biggest and probably the best for last, and we'll get started maybe on the smallest item and go from there. So, as you can see, I've got some rail match paint. I've got both their Sleeper Grime, which is their 2406, and their 2405, which is Dark Rust. So what I'm going to do is weather my rails. I actually have a couple pens also that I'm probably going to end up trying to use. But I've got an airbrush. You saw it in a previous video, I hope. So once I get my cork down, I'm then going to take all my rails that I have, however much I have, which is quite a bit, go take the airbrush to it and try to weather the sleepers and the rails before I put it down. See how that goes, and then we'll put the gravel down on top of it. But got the Sleeper Grime and the Dark Rust paint. It's acrylic, non-toxic. Bought it in the UK. It's the only place I could seem to find. Shipping was less than a week, so pretty reasonable, all things considered. Next, I'm going to go to the next smallest thing, I suppose, which is the tortoise drilling template. I decided to get that. Hopefully it makes it a little easier for me to line up all my holes when I'm drilling. Next, I got a few Digitrax items, and the place I purchased them from, which is traintechllc.com. They were out of stock on the SE8C Digitrax signal decoder. So they're going to ship that to me free once it arrives, and they decided to ship this shipment ahead of that. So first of all, I've got the BDL168. This is an occupancy detector. It does up to 16 detection sections and up to 8 transponder zones. And then I also have the DS64, which is just a stationary decoder for basically slow motion switches like tortoise switches. I guess I'm going to need more than one of these since I have 30 switches. One other thing I bought, I'm really starting to like these Aculite items that are carried. These are breakout boards. So I've got one for the BDO168, and then I've got one for the SE8C, which hasn't been delivered yet. But basically, I'm not going to open it just yet. I'm just trying to keep it together. You can see that there's a socket that the board plugs into, and then you've got standoffs with screw fittings, so you can screw it in instead of trying to solder to all these little terminal connections. I suppose soldering's probably more permanent, but in the case of getting into hard places, I think being able to mount the board and then possibly even disconnect it fairly easily and screw in wires or move wires around, it's going to be a lot easier with these breakout boards. They're not incredibly cheap, but I think the value for how much easier it's going to make it should help out drastically. Okay, now on to the next item, which is the Cornerstone or Walthers Advanced Control Module for turntable assembly. Basically, this does all kinds of things. It has DCC integration, serial port. There's a number of different items. You can see the part number there, 9332321. Yeah, switch input, track LED indicators, track number display, track power relay control, all kinds of fancy stuff. And it works with the Walthers N-scale 130-foot electric turntable, and some of the three of the HO turntables with their associated part numbers there. Comes with a little pack of screws, and I'm actually printing right now. I just designed a little box to hold this. I'm going to see if it makes sense to 3D print some mounts for these, so I get a little bit of elevation off the back where all the solder joints are, so I'm not screwing it straight onto a table. Obviously, this does have little standoffs, but the Digitrax stuff doesn't really come with any mounting hardware per se, so it might be kind of neat to build some plastic mounts, and I'll show you that here in just a second. I'll be right back. So sorry about the noise here. The printer's kind of got a high-pitched noise while it's printing. And it's going to take about 6-7 hours to print this out, but I'm basically building a box to put that turntable control in, and from there, it should be pretty straightforward to get it mounted. I've got my own mounting hole, so the box can be screwed to the underside of the table or a mounting board, and then the actual integrated circuit, or the logic board, can be pulled out and moved independently of where I mount it on the board if it needs maintenance, replacing, or anything else in the future. So quick view of this on the computer, see what it will kind of look like. So here is what it looks like. Sorry about doing a video of the screen, but you get an idea of what it's going to look like. I've got some standoffs on the bottom of this. I've got some walls on it in case I want to put a cover on it. Probably not going to do that, but we'll see how that goes. Started getting a little excited with my second homegrown print design, and if this ends up working and is the correct size, I will publish this publicly on one of the free 3D print libraries. Okay, next up is the Walthers N-scale Motorized 130-foot turntable. It is pretty big. It'll hold a loco up to 9 3/4 inches or 24.7 centimeters long. It's big enough for a 4884. It'll probably be a little while before I get this installed, but I did want to share the track that's installed. And looks like it's in pretty good shape. Kind of took a look at it. It's got some good instructions. Even comes with a little controller. So all things considered, I can't wait to get this installed, although it'll probably be a little bit of time, so it's going to need to go in the back table for a little bit until I'm ready to cut out and do some work. One thing to note in the instructions, if you are using something like this, like a motorized turntable, and you're doing layout construction, you definitely want to keep this covered while you do any kind of work on the table so dust does not get into it. There is some access holes in the bottom of the table to get in. Sorry about the screen vibrating there. I've got notifications. I forgot to turn them off. But that basically is the end of today's quick little video. Hopefully you found it interesting, and tune in next time for my first section of cork underlayment being put down and how I do that. Till next time. So I know I said I'd be back, but this just finished and I got it mounted. This is the turntable controller, and got it 3D printed. Seems to be pretty good. The walls are a little thin, but not too bad. But the height of the RS-232 jack is like pretty much darn perfect. I'm not sure if I could have nailed that any better. But yeah, looks good first mount. It's got some holes in it so I can mount it to a mounting board. Now to go get some mounting boards and end up mounting it.